Now in the days of Ahasuerus, who reigned from India to Ethiopia over 127 provinces, in those days when King Ahasuerus sat on his royal throne in Susa, the citadel, in the 3rd year of his reign, he gave a feast for all of his officials and servants, and the army of Persia and Media, and the nobles and governors of the provinces were before him. It is Thursday, the 20th day of July, 2023. My name is Clive Walsh, inviting you to join me for the next 5 minutes or so as we take in the reading of our devotional thought for today, and it's coming from the book Truth for Life by pastor and author Alistair Begg. Today's devotional thought is entitled, Where is God? And the verse today, Esther chapter 1, verses 1 through 3. And it reads, Now in the days of Ahasuerus, who reigned from India to Ethiopia over 127 provinces, in those days when King Ahasuerus sat on his royal throne in Susa, the citadel, in the 3rd year of his reign, he gave a feast for all of his officials and servants, and the army of Persia and Media, and the nobles and governors of the provinces were before him. That's Esther chapter 1, verses 1, 2, and 3. Alistair Begg writes, A natural response for anyone who reads the book of Esther is to wonder, where is God in this book? It is one of the only 2 biblical books that doesn't mention God by name. The other is the Song of Solomon. Why the omission? While commentators and scholars have offered all kinds of explanations and fundamental reasons why God's name does not appear, may just be the simplest, because he didn't want it there. But what leads us to an even bigger question, why would God not want his name in Esther's story? Perhaps it's because God is wanting to teach us that there will be a time in life when he's apparently absent, but he's not. Charles Spurgeon writes, Although the name of God does not occur in the book of Esther, the Lord himself is there most conspicuously in every incident which it relates. I have seen portraits bearing the names of persons for which they were intended, and they certainly needed them. But we have all seen others which required no name, because there were such striking likenesses that the moment you looked upon them, you knew them. While God's name is missing from Esther, then his presence is supremely evident. He is at work in the refusal of the Persian queen, Vesti, to accede to her husband's angry demand, Esther chapter 1, verse 12. He is at work in making the young Jewish woman who gives her name to the book, Esther, beautiful. He is at work in the sleep patterns of the king and his reading choices. He is at work in overruling the hatred of the king's first minister, Haman. Esther lived in the day of Ahasuerus, the mighty Persian king, but she also lived in the days of the Almighty Creator God, who rules on high. And we live in those same days. Life's unfolding story always reveals to us that God is in the details. The book of Esther makes clear that he is present not only in the lightning bolts of his intervention, in the parting of the Red Sea, Exodus chapter 14, or the calming of the storm, in Mark chapter 4, verse 35 through 41, but also in the humdrum of life. In the everyday events, God is working his purpose out. Perhaps you find yourself in the midst of deep darkness and circumstances that seem to overwhelm you. If so, pray that God will help you hear his word, which promises, Never will I leave you, never will I forsake you, Hebrews 13, chapter 5, which assures us that all things work together for good for those who are called according to his purpose, Romans chapter 8, verse 28, and which calls us to cast our burdens on the Lord, and he will sustain you, Psalms 55, verse 22. When God appears to be most absent in your life, He is still at work. Remember that, folks. When the Lord seems to be absent, when you can't hear His voice, when you don't know what He's doing, guess what? He is still at work. Trust Him. Believe in Him. Cling to Him. Wait, watch, and see what He'll do, because He loves you. And where you are, there He is. Well, that concludes our devotional thought for today. Trust that it was an encouragement and a blessing to you. And those of you reading through the scriptures in a year, your assignment today is the book of Psalms, chapter 26 through 28, and the book of Acts, chapter 15, verses 1 through 21. Clive Walsh here. May the Lord bless you and truly give you a beautiful day today.